SD, Age-3 Normal, Orbital, and Fortress.
Hey, what's up again, everybody? Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net. And for this SD Age-3 Normal, Fortress, and Orbital pack, you've already seen the unbox and the Normal and Fortress. Now it's time to take a look at the space variety that's flying up there, the Age-3 Orbital, in super deformed form. All of these empty plates will result in the same head and chest as the Normal and Fortress, with very unique legs and arms there, not to mention an original BB Senshi gimmick where you can store all the extra parts and not throw them in a Ziploc. I'll kick things off with the caveat that I am a huge fan of the way the Orbital looks. I think it's one of the best MS designs that we've ever seen, for the simple fact that yes, if you're up in space, well, you don't really need toes protruding forward. Yes, there's all sorts of stuff built into the universe as to they help maneuver and everything. But this guy just looks cool and natural, and it's the kind of thing why you wonder why we didn't see it earlier. So let's see how it works out in plastic model form. The waist section is going to be similar there on the back, all white, but on the front you're going to be getting a nice chunk of plastic there for the red, and these two parts are going to be put on with seals though, but the fact you've got the red, white, there, everything is looking pretty good. These parts on the high grade and things like that are going to have a lot more colors to them, but at least they're on, and they're oversized, very cheesy, very SD-ish. The legs are looking pretty good. You'll see that I put some lining in here and forgot to put some lining in there, so that I'll have to fix up after. Looks like I did it front and back. But the best part is the toes, as I've mentioned, because they're going to be attached on. First of all, no seals. You've got white plastic and red plastic there, including those spheres, which are looking very good. They look even better in gray, but of course we'd need a higher grade for that. But what you can do is you can plug them into the back of the heels. Disappointing somewhat that these are actually done up in seals though. But again, you're not going to be looking at the back when all the eyes are on the cool part there. And you can plug that in, which is going to allow the tiniest little bit of mobility up and down and off to the side. But of more importance, it's going to allow it to go up in the air and have his toes pointing down, as if gravity ain't no thing. And the shoulders and arms of the Orbital are almost just as fun in design, although you can see here with the SD that the implementation is going to be just a little bit lacking, but it's the kind of thing, can't wait to see this in higher grades. First of all, you've got very red shoulders there that are going to have this big, ugly white seal that's going to fit on relatively well. You can see that it's already starting to come up, and it's even got a little beveled area there to go around the round part. Here, if you wanted to paint up the inside of these and add some yellow, add some black, I'm sure you can make this guy look fantastic. But if you're looking at it from the front, it's going to look okay, and that's thanks to the fact that they put on this combination of white and the shiny silver that we've been seeing since the Age 1 had that little chrome dome on the back of his head. You've got the gray parts there for the inside of the elbows, which is going to give you that little bit of mobility. You can even dislocate it if you're transforming the Fortress. But it's somewhat surprising. I forgot that the Orbital has blue cuffs, similar to the Normal. Nothing different. The Fortress actually has gray/purple ones. But on the back, whereas the blue, you're going to have the blue there for the Normal, you're going to have red here for the Fortress, which is, again, a little bit disappointing that it's just going to be seals around the bottom and the top. You can see, though, that they're not symmetrical there, but still looking pretty good. White seals to cover up the manipulators, but from the front, you can see the red, the blue, the white, and the gray to go along with that shiny silver. Looking pretty good. If only this part in the back could do a little bit more. It's not going to move much, it's just on a solid poly cap. I suppose you could turn it the wrong way, but paint it up, this would look fantastic. But again, let's just wait for the better grade. And if sending lasers out that bend in every which direction is your thing, well, you'll probably be a big fan of this weapon here. First of all, it's going to look a little bit cheesy and very, very hollow, but that's actually not a bad thing because this is going to fit very well into the forearm guard. And it's going to sit there out of the way, so you're going to cover up that cavity. But in terms of this, I like the little details, the fact that they're going to give you gray to put that on. You can also detach it so it goes into the hand very easily. You could add a little bit of lining in black or brown to really bring this thing to life, though. The waist and head section of all of these are incredible, with the Normal frame there looking very good in blue with all those colors up there, including the very yellow V-fin. But if you want to pop on the legs and pop on the arms, and when he's all put together and touched up, thanks to the best $2 that a lazy gunpla builder could ever spend on a black lining marker, just to fix up those legs there, you are going to have the red-themed Age-3 look pretty spectacular thanks to the combination of plastic and seals here. That's looking pretty good on the overall, even though he is chained down by the Earth's gravity right now. In terms of the color apps, again, you've got the red and the white on the feet looking good. It's that waist section that really helps bring them to life, not to mention the fact that you've got the seals there and there, which are definitely going to draw the eyes up and out, which is certainly where they should be. The thrusters on the back are going to be a little bit dull as they are on the side of the hips, But then again, they're there, they're cheesy, they're oversized, and they're really going to add to it. And when you've got the even bigger weapon in hand there, he's looking great on his own. And going here based on color as opposed to theme, you'd think that he would match up with the Sparrow. Here he is next to the Age-1 Titus, which is his red brother in arms there. This is also going to be hulked out because he's got extra parts. You'd have to buy more than one Age-1 to have all of these effect parts on there at the same time. But you can definitely see the evolution, even though he's got his serious eyes on right now, that he definitely looks like he's quite a few years after the Age-1, I think, in design. Especially with the chest and waist section. This one looking definitely cartoony, the eyes don't help. But how about that big gorilla? I'd take this one in a heartbeat any day. Red again meant that we don't have the H2 matching up with the Fortress. That really should be the Dark Hound, I suppose. But here's the red-themed double bullet, which is going to be an interesting take on the normal. So you're going to have the red feet here on the two of them to go along with the red cuffs. Interesting that Age-3 kept his blue cuffs there. But the big red guns are looking pretty good. Those white seals are sticking around all over the place. But the silver seals, again, whether they're going to be there on the guns or on the shoulders, I think really help this guy. But again, I've got to say that Orbital, even Earthbound, definitely has the edge. And for a comparison with an old 2 Space Dweller here, we've got the V2. This is the Assault Buster variation, where we're basically going to pack on a whole bunch of weapons. Most of those seems to be already integrated into the Orbital. The fact that he's actually got legs and plastic there for the red and the white on the feet, definitely a big plus over the no legs and the silver on there. Definitely, though, the V2 is going to have even more width, it looks like, to him, and some cool effect parts, but then again, just in terms of modern sensibilities, I'd have to say Orbital again. But if today's comparisons seem to be about choosing, you can guess that there's going to be a lot of old-school UC fans that would definitely go with the Sazabi-influenced Shinanju over there. Definitely one of the cooler SD kits out there. He's got the edge in both head height, it looks like, just by a little bit. But if you add on the commander's fin, and he also is going to have a lot bigger thrusters there than what you see on the back of the Age-3. Bigger guns overall, so you can see that even though SDs have been getting bigger and bigger, it seems like they may have peaked with the Shinanju and Unicorn. And finally, here he is next to his advanced grade counterpart. You can see that in terms of color apps, he's going to have more colors there on the waist thanks to the seals, and also a lot more on the shoulders where the white and that white silver is going to be omitted. However, the AG Orbital is looking pretty cool there, and that's thanks in no small part to the fact that this is one of the best ideas I think Bandai's put out in a recent plastic model, where they're going to give you want to have him up on his toes. That's the way the Orbital should be. He's not going to come with an action base, but this AG for even less money at 800 instead of 12 that you're going to see on the left is going to come with not a special action base 2 variant or things like that, but just single things there, which means you're not going to have an ugly base sticking out. You can actually just have him up on his toes, and on most shells that's just going to disappear and make him look like the space ballerina that I suppose he was born to be. To posing now, where the SD definitely has an edge over the AG there. You can basically move the shoulders around. They do a very good job of popping out and forward there. You can move around the side skirts, you can move around those thrusters on the back, you can have them looking down the barrel, and I'm getting paged by my Gundam Age game system. As I was saying, he's definitely going to look pretty good looking down the barrel of the rifle, but even on the ground, it's his big shoulders that are really going to set him off, not to mention that white and red combination, which just looks fantastic throughout the main body. But you know where he's supposed to be, what Bandai didn't really do a very good job of helping you get him there. Because here is almost the same pose up in the air. If you've been collecting Gundam models for a while, you're either going to have a stand that's been thrown into a kit. We've seen these with quite a few. From the Age-2 to the Age-3s, you can see that this one's just on a reversed little included kit down there. Or go out and buy an Action Base 2. Just somewhat disappointing again that they're going to give you all these extra chunks of plastic, but nothing that's going to help him get up in the way that even the advanced grade can for a very low price at 800. But really, this guy looks like he should be flying through space blasting people. With even just a static pose there, making this guy definitely look down on all of those ground-based Gundams and saying, yes, I am superior. But not of the S Gundam variety. The transformation here is going to have a familiar path. You just take off this part of the chest, and forget about the head even existing. You'll just go and throw that into a Ziploc and don't lose it. It's pretty big. And then for the actual body, you're going to do some similar things. You're going to pop off these cuffs, reverse them around, put the manipulators back in, flip up this red part here, take the legs, just make sure that you've got the toes pointing downwards, and these thrusters are just going to stick up. And when you've done that, if you take a look at the back of the rifle here, you can put that in and cover up that little cockpit there with that little green sticker, and there you go. There is the G Viper, which you could say, I definitely say it's going to be cooler than the G Hopper, which is the Fortress's transformation. Again, disappointing that they're not going to give you a stand, so you'd have to have it just collapsed on the ground, but if you've got one of the Age-3s, either the normal or the orbital, you can go and put those on. However, you can't actually put on the core fighter. It's looking good though, but I'd have to give the edge because I think it's a little bit more fun to put on the regular Sigma's rifle on the front of the normal here. This one, it just seems like it could have seals or a few more color apps. You've got the gray for the handle there, but otherwise not too much. The blue part flipping forward though is looking good, as are all those red thrusters going all back in the right direction, not to mention the toes. So definitely either my first or second, I'd probably go second in terms of my favorite transformations here. And similar to what we've seen before, the BB Senshi original gimmick is going to be that stand there, so you can take the normal parts and put them on there. Looks like the Fortress's guns have just sort of collapsed a little bit. This one definitely not as colorful though, as the red is going to catch all your eyes when you see it over there. Again, just would have been nice if they had used this somehow, either as a stand to get it up in the air if you took the armor parts off, and a way to get the core fighter up there with the Viper Piper Hopper. So on to some final thoughts here for the SD Age-3 Orbital, which you can guess from what you've seen is my thoughts overall are very positive thanks to the great MS design, and the fact that the SD for a reasonable price is doing a very good job of pulling it off, with some great gimmicks like the fact that you can move the feet around very well on the ground or up in the air, not as well as the normal, which is going to give you those nice 2-point stances on either foot, which is great. But here the combination, I thought the seals might be a little bit of a detriment to it. You've got them all over the place, especially on the arms and the shoulders, but you're not really going to see it because you've got all your eye is going to be drawn to all the right places. The white on the shoulders, the width, the colors, and the proportions, everything about this guy combined with the toes pointing down is fantastic. Really my biggest complaint though is just going to be that they give you this great ability to get him up airborne and then they don't give you the ability to get him up airborne. Something that they could do with the custom made mounts there that you've got on the advanced grade orbital. It's the kind of thing they either could have used the same similar kind of gimmick, probably wouldn't work because it just feels like this guy's actually heavier than the AG, even though it seems a little bit hard to believe. But it's the kind of thing where they could have used that stand that's holding on all those extra armors to at least get the core fighter and the transformation up in the air. It really hurts the Fortress a little bit, but it really hurts the Orbital, and it's probably my only knock against an otherwise, well, overly sealed but otherwise awesome kit. So how about my final thoughts on the kit itself? I'm talking about the 1200 yen Age-3 combination here. For me, I do not regret buying it, and I more importantly do not regret buying 3 of them, even for a minute. I think that the normal looks great. It's got the yellow parts in all the right places. Same for the Fortress, a great color of gray. Lots of play value in the Orbital. Like I said, if you can get it up airborne, which I'm sure most collectors can, using one of the bases somewhere, it's going to be fantastic. Combine that with a great transformation gimmick. Well, relatively great. For an SD, this is a great transformation gimmick. But the chest has all the right colors in all the right places, and the head up there, where it's got all, again, the parts don't have to be as small as what we've seen on the AG and the HG, but they do a great job of making it cartoony and fun and tons of play value. If you were just to spend $1,200 and willing to swap the limbs on and off, you could have a lot of fun with this kit, tons of replay value, and at the end of the day, what more can you ask for? Darkhound SD.